Hello there, fellow peregrinos. Welcome to the Camino de Santiago Pilgrims podcast, where we talk about planning, preparation, and practicalities for life on the road to Santiago, El Camino de Santiago. So for the second episode, I have decided to share with you my 10 top tips that I thought of whilst I was walking my last Camino, the Camino Portugues, that I thought would make life just a little bit easier and enjoyable. So let's dive straight in and start with number one of those 10 top tips. So my first one is pack flip-flops to give your feet some air and kick off your boots when you finish walking for the day. Sounds like Captain Obvious, but it's something I didn't do on one of my Caminos, and I really missed my flip-flops. And the reason was I was just trying to save weight. But when you've done a 30 kilometre day, 40 kilometre day, it could even be 10 kilometres, whatever, it's always such a great feeling to take your boots off, take your socks off, and give your feet an airing, especially if you've got some blisters as well. It will give them a chance to heal, and you can give them some TLC that way. So yes, tip number one, pack some flip-flops. I think your feet will thank you for it. Tip number two of my 10 top tips for walking the Camino de Santiago would be to take a dictaphone so you can walk, think, and talk. You'll be surprised at how good your brain is at untying mental spaghetti when you switch off your smartphone and escape into nature. Recent studies have shown, we look at our smartphones on average 150 times per day, and we'll spend 5 years staring at a screen by the time we die, which is quite scary when you think about the other things we could have spent those 5 years doing. I don't know how many Caminos we could squeeze into 5 years, but it would probably be quite a few. And that's something we'd probably all rather be doing. So, try and catch that Camino consciousness on your dictaphone. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, well, on my smartphone I have a voice recorder, but I sincerely think that I enjoy my Caminos better when I don't have the, shall we say, the nagging urge to look at my phone, look and see if I've got any notifications from social media, emails, WhatsApps, whatever they may be. I find it frees up that cognitive bandwidth for you to think, and like we say, untie that mental spaghetti. So I'm not saying don't take your phone. Obviously, that will come in really handy if you've got family that you want to keep in contact with and let them know that you're okay. And maybe if you do have to be on call for some work issues, and obviously in emergencies, phones are a really useful tool, but I think it's good to use it in the right way, in a positive way. Use it for what it's good for, which would be the aforementioned previous things. But if and where possible, my advice would be to keep it switched off, ready for use in emergencies only, and maybe this, when you're on the road, and maybe when you finish walking for the day, switch it on, check in with friends and family and your loved ones back home, just to let them know you're okay. So I know that can be controversial and some of you may disagree with that, but that's just the way I do it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's the only way, but that's one way I feel like I get the most out of my Camino. And maybe it's worth trying for a day and seeing how you feel, because those notifications, it's all about the release of dopamine. Dopamine is a pleasure hormone, a neurotransmitter that's released by our brains when we see one of those yellow arrows. That's kind of some notification that we're going the right way, that we're making progress. But it's also something we can become addicted to, and that's why smartphones have become so addictive for us, and maybe lots of us don't even know it. So let's increase the serotonin, which is the happiness hormone, with the walking, and let's decrease the dopamine by turning the phone off, the dependence on dopamine, turning the phone off while we walk. And maybe having a look around at the sky, at the scenery, the horizon, instead of at our phones. I know you might hate me for that, but that's just my opinion, nothing more, and my recommendation for trying. Okay, so that's the first two: packing flip-flops, take a dictaphone, keep your phone switched off whilst walking. Number 3 would be make snacks easily accessible when on the road. When you're tired and in need of a quick shot of energy, the last thing you want is for that banana or that muesli bar or that chocolate bar or that bocadillo. There's the French bread baguettes, as the Spanish call them, to be at the bottom of your backpack. So I recommend keeping snacks and water inside pockets, or best case scenario in short or trouser pockets zipped up. So that way you can keep walking, you wouldn't have to stop or waste precious time and energy dropping your bag off your back. Just kind of munch and walk. I found that when I did that, I found that to be really, really useful. So you can just unpeel a banana and get munching while you walk. So that's number 3. So keep snacks easily accessible when on the road. Number 4 would be carry safety pins to attach wet clothes onto your rucksack so they can dry out while you walk. So maybe after walking the previous day, your clothes didn't dry because it was a wet day, and obviously you don't want to stuff your wet clothes into your backpack and make the rest of it, the rest of the clothes or the rest of the stuff inside your backpack wet. So some safety pins can really come in handy for that kind of stuff. Obviously, you don't want to show the world your Power Rangers underwear, or but at least they won't be wet. So it's kind of the best case of a worst case scenario. So that may come in handy. Maybe when you're walking in the wilderness, that could be a good idea. When you're walking through some Spanish towns or villages, that you might want to just kind of put them out of sight, not to scare people. But so that could be a helpful tip. So safety pins can come in handy for that. And I think I said on the first podcast with Sierra St. Clair that carrying some pegs too could be really, really useful, because those little commodities, believe it or not, are like gold dust at the Elbergs. And again, essential for making sure your clothes haven't been blown off the line all the way to Finisterre. And of course, they will be dry by the time you go to walk the next morning. So pins and pegs, 2 really useful things to take with you that wouldn't take up too much weight and space in your bags. Okay. One little conundrum for number 5 I had while I slept was wondering what to do with my valuables. And when I say valuables, I mean stuff like obviously wallet, passports, bank cards, anything along those lines. I thought maybe I'd put them in the top pocket of my backpack, and but I've often found myself just laying there worrying, hoping that they were going to be safe. In the end, I came up with a solution to put them into my sleeping bag while I slept, because if anyone wants to get to them, they'll probably think twice if they have to go in there. Okay, so obviously you might have your own system, but this was something I ended up doing and became part of my routine. Okay, now also one other thing I found to be really useful, and this would be number 6, would be to have some spare change in your pockets. Picture this: you've walked 20 kilometers for 8 hours in 30-degree heat without a break. You see that cafe up ahead. The doors are wide open. If you've got a few euros in your pocket, you dig in, pay up, and instantly savour that drink you'd been dreaming of, or that food, or that bocadillo, whatever it may be, that little slice of tortilla that caught your eye when you walked in the door. And the worst thing is if you've got to rummage around in your rucksack and waste valuable time and energy trying to find some coins. Can be very, very frustrating, and like we said, time and energy become very precious commodities when you're walking the Camino de Santiago. So, and that may put you at the back of the queue, and you have to wait behind five fellow peregrinos who had spare change in their pockets and got there before you. So, yeah, sounds like silly little things, but definitely I think they come in handy. Yes, spare change in your pocket. So when you walk into shops or if you see a vending machine, just dig in, pay up, and quench that thirst and satisfy that hunger, which seems to be chronic always when you're walking so many miles. All right, number 7 of my 10 top tips for walking the Camino de Santiago would be break in your boots. I made the mistake of not doing this on my first Camino. I saw some shiny, brand new Merrell boots. I had my old ones. I thought, they look amazing. I want to buy those. I'll be okay. Everyone says you need to break them in, but maybe it'll be worth it if I'm wearing a pair of new shoes, new boots. I'm not sure it was in hindsight. I had some very, very bad blisters that were plaguing me for the first 9 to 10 days of my Camino, probably up until I got it from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Logroño. I found it very, very difficult the first 10 days or so. So it was only once I'd broken my boots in and the skin in my hot spots had toughened up that I was walking in relatively pain-free bliss. So, yes, do break in your boots. Again, that sounds like stating the obvious, but I didn't do it, and maybe if you are not an experienced walker, but you are thinking of walking the Camino de Santiago, that's definitely a good thing to start and a good way to start your preparation. Just put on your boots and get walking. And if you do feel those hot spots, you might want to treat them immediately. So yes, breaking your boots, that's the moral of that story. Number 8, we're whizzing through these. Number 8 would be pack earplugs and a blindfold to silence the snoring. And of course, something that else could come in handy would be a blindfold, like we said, to shield your eyes from maybe people that are using torches and headlamps at the albergues. They're not always everyone's favourite things, but some people do have them. The torches and the headlamps. So that can be something that wakes you up, and it's definitely woken me up. And that's all kind of some of the teething issues you have when you first get on the Camino, and that is getting some sleep. So earplugs, I would say, are a must in your kit list, and blindfolds definitely as well. Okay, so number 8, pack some earplugs and a blindfold. That'll definitely help you sleep. Number 9, one thing I definitely could not do without on a Camino would be having a flexi flask. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a very, very simple piece of, it's a very simple gadget. It's like just a plastic pouch that fits into your side pocket, has a straw that extends over your shoulder so you can draw water from it and hydrate on the move. So you wouldn't have to take your backpack off your back again and get a bottle out. You wouldn't have to carry a bottle in your hands while you walk. It's just a tube that comes over your shoulder, goes into that plastic pouch that's full of water. And you can just draw water from the teat on that. And like we say, that is really, really great for drinking while you're walking. And again, saves all that precious time and energy. Okay, so number 10 on the 10 top tips for walking the Camino de Santiago. Here we go, number 10. It is, drum roll, it's probably not as exciting as it sounds. Probably didn't merit a drum roll. But anyway, I did it. That would be to put some high-vis or reflective stickers on your rucksack, including straps for roadside walking and travelling in the dark. Quite often, when you walk the Camino, you might start out very, very early, especially in the summertime. And when you're trying to beat the heat and get off the road before the sun gets to its zenith. So I would really, really recommend those high-vis reflective stickers on your rucksack, maybe on your trainers or your boots, or anywhere where it might come in handy. Because you might have some roadside walking. There's quite a lot of that on the Camino Portugues. So be aware of that, especially between Lisbon and Porto. There's a fair tranche of that as well, walking from Porto to Santiago. But between Lisbon and Porto, myself and my fiance Rachel found ourselves having to jump off the road into muddy farmland to avoid lorries coming at us, which was a nice story to tell, but it wasn't it wasn't a very nice experience at the time. And especially on the Camino de Santiago, the Camino Frances, because while 500 kilometers is holding hands with Mother Nature, and 200 kilometers is on quiet roads, almost 100 kilometers is alongside busy roads. So that simple strategy of putting those high-vis reflective stickers on your rucksack may well come in handy. Okay, so those are your 10 top tips for walking the Camino de Santiago. 10 top tips that I scribbled down while I was last walking the Camino. Now, a bonus tip, number 11. And this is something I came up with to save some weight. So I didn't have to carry a smaller bag for carrying valuables around in the evening. Instead, what I did was I used my sleeping bag stuff sack to carry around my passport, wallet, and other valuables when I'd finished walking for the day and wanted to explore out and about where I was staying. So on my first few Caminos, I had a little, a little satchel that I carried around as well. And instead of that, I came up with the idea of carrying it in my stuff sack. So a body wallet could come in handy as well. I used a body wallet as well. But sometimes I found that to be a bit uncomfortable. And where you've often got the backpack on your back all day in boots, sometimes I found myself just wanting to feel as free and as light as possible when I'd finished for the day. And I found that stuff sack kind of just went over my shoulders like a satchel. And you could kind of pull up the rope to close it as well, and I found that quite secure, and it's really always there right on your body. So that was my bonus tip. So there's 10 top tips and a bonus tip there for walking the Camino de Santiago. So I really hope those 10 top tips came in handy for you there. While we're talking numbers, I would like to answer 3 frequently answered questions every week that I tend to see on pilgrim forums, Facebook groups. And we're going to start with a question that I've seen come up quite a lot. How many stamps do I need to get on my credential to be able to stay in the albergues every night? I've read different opinions on this one and different answers, but I have gone to the Pilgrim Office in Santiago website to get the answer to this one, and they recommend that you need 2 stamps per day. So just to be safe, it's probably best to get 2 stamps per day according to the Pilgrim Office website in Santiago. So you'd get one obviously in the albergue where you stay, and that's really, really important. So every place you stay, you sleep, you want to get your credential, which is your pilgrim's passport, stamped there. And maybe if you're stopping for coffee or something to eat on the way to your next place to stay, they often have stamps in there as well. So you can just ask for the word for stamp in Spanish is sello, SELLO, but that double L is pronounced like a Y in English. So you could say something like, ¿Tienes sello, por favor? Do you have the stamp? And ¿Tienes sello? And that may well come in handy. And my Spanish is okay. I've lived in Spain for quite a while now. So I hope my Spanish comes in handy and you can understand it, what I'm saying. Never planned to give you that bit of Spanish there, just came out. But yeah, ¿Tienes sello? Would be a good thing to ask. Do you have a stamp? They should know what you're talking about. And most places along the way will have them. So good to ask. So 2 stamps along the way. The other question is, does anyone have anywhere that they recommend staying in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is the most common starting point for most people on the Camino? So I went to 2 sources here. I went to booking.com and just had a look at some ratings. There's a place called Gîte le Chemin, l'Étoile, and that's got 7.9 and out of 10 and a good overall rating. So I hope my French pronunciation is okay. There's Gîte le Chemin, l'Étoile. And I will put links to this on our Facebook page, okay? So you can have a look yourself. Just click on the link. So if my pronunciation isn't too good, then at least you know you can go on there and have a look yourself. So our Facebook page is El Camino de Santiago Pilgrims Podcast. Give us a like as well. That would be lovely. But yes, so that's the first one. The second one that seems very, very popular. This has 387 reviews and 9.4 out of 10, an overall rating of fabulous, and that place is Gîte de la Porte Saint-Jacques. So it's even got St. James in the name there. So I'll say that one more time. Please don't hate me for this bad French. Gîte de la Porte Saint-Jacques. Okay, 9.4 out of 10, 387 reviews. I think that's probably a good bet as well if you can get a place. And I got this one from John Brierley's. I gave John Brierley a French name there, didn't I? John, not Jean. John Brierley's fabulous guidebook, which is what I used along the way on the way to Santiago. It's called A Pilgrim's Guide to the Camino Frances, and it's most people's go-to guide. It's called The Ancient Pilgrim. The subtitle is The Ancient Pilgrim Path, also known as Camino de Santiago. So, yes, that's a Camino Frances guidebook. And he recommends, if you don't want to stay in the albergues, you could go to a place called Hotel Ramuncho, which has 289 reviews, 8 out of 10, and good overall feedback. So, yes, highly recommend those places. I will put links to all of these places on our Facebook page, El Camino de Santiago Pilgrims Podcast. Give us a like, and yeah, you can click on there. That would be lovely. So those are the 3 frequently answered questions. You've had 10 top tips there. And before finishing, I'd like to recommend another Camino de Santiago podcast, which is called My Camino by Dan Mullins. He's been going for a couple of years now, I think. And yeah, brilliant podcast. And Dan tends to has a guest every week, and he delves deeper into their personal journey on the Camino and more into the mystical side of the Camino. Brilliant listen, really, really highly recommend that. So My Camino by Dan Mullins. And before finishing, I hope you don't mind me mentioning, if you're looking for a light-hearted memoir about the Camino Frances specifically, then my memoir called The Only Way is West is available on Amazon. Just go to the search bar, type in The Only Way is West, and you'll see my book, my memoir, come up there. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. I really hope you've got a lot out of this week's podcast. Do go to Facebook, give us a like, that would be lovely. And it just remains to say, until next Friday, when every episode will be posted, buen camino, fellow peregrinos.